Welcome to this, what's going to be a fascinating session on insurance, customer experience. And we've got Peter Smith here. It's nice to see you face to face. We did a session last year, which was remote from the Arabian travel market. It was a fireside chat with yourself and one of your partners, Icelandic Air, wasn't it?
It was indeed, Phil, yes. It's so lovely to be out and travelling again and see all your wonderful faces. It's nice to see a full room as well, by the way.
It's good, isn't it?
It's
It's good.
yeah.
It's full because it's people are still watching virtually and so on. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a keynote speech from Peter, and then we're going to have a fireside chat. We're just waiting for the wood and the cold to appear. Reminds me of my place in Wales, the fireside. My name's Phil Blizzard. I'm a broadcaster here. Started in the UK with BBC Local Radio. I just found out we were about 14 miles away. You were in Chester and I was in Stoke-on-Trent. So
That's it. Who knew?
Neighbours. Anyway, so Peter, tell us about your role within Cover Genius. What's your job?
Yeah, sure. So I head up global travel partnerships for Cover Genius. We are a leading global insurtech for embedded insurance. So my role primarily is working with airlines, OTAs, hotels, travel companies in general, to help them embed insurance and offer that out to their global customers via our platform.
You say embedded insurance. My first travel experience was August last year. Flew with Emirates down to Barcelona, and it was great because that insurance was there. Had to do nothing at all. It was there. I didn't have to search around on any website to decide which insurance to take. So, very key aspect and a great experience for the customer. So, Peter, let's hand it over to you for your keynote speech.
Wonderful, thank you, Phil. So yeah, we have just a few slides to share with you today, covering off some insights that we've found over the last couple of years during the pandemic. I'm going to talk a little bit about the customer experience and how customer expectations are changing. So yeah, let's fire away. So yeah, again, I think we touched on it briefly there, but just a little bit more about Cover Genius. We work with some of the world's largest digital brands to distribute insurance via our platform, which we call X-Cover, to embed and offer insurance to their global customers via a single API. And we do that today with many, many travel partners all around the world. This is just a snapshot of some of the partners that we're working with today. No doubt you folks recognize most of the brands on the wall here. Indeed, there are a few more localized brands, and one that you'll notice because it's plastered around the hallways is WeGo. We've been working with them for probably about 18 months now. But there's some other huge sort of brands on there, Ryanair notably being one of the largest low-cost carriers in the world and one of the biggest airlines in Europe. You'll also notice on the wall here we have a couple of non-travel brands. So, for example, Amazon and eBay. I meant Shopee, actually. So I mentioned that we distribute any line of insurance or warranty anywhere in the world. So on Amazon, for example, we can embed warranty or product protection within the purchase path. So as the customer goes through Amazon in certain product lines to make a purchase, prior to them paying, we can offer them warranties. So that's something that we've been doing with Amazon now for probably about the last six to 8 months. So the next few slides I'm going to cover off essentially do a bit of a deep dive into some of the research we've done amongst not only our travel partners around the world, but against all of our partners. So I'll give you some snapshots from probably outside of travel as well. But as the leading global insurtech, we're able to really understand and get under the skin of how customers act when they're making their purchases, how they behave, and what drives that behavior, and almost to the point of how customers tick and how they think. And I guess I'll highlight that a little bit more as we move through this. So the first thing to note, and this won't be, there's meant to be a little thing that pops up there. Let me just try this. No, okay. So there is meant to be a little live graph there that doesn't appear to be working, but that's fine. We can work through it. Essentially what this would show, if I can just move over here, is this is the attach rate of insurance within the booking path on travel websites. And what this should show is, as the pandemic hit early in 2020, essentially, it sort of undulates, but you see a huge spike in the attach rate of insurance to the point where at the very peak, insurance was attaching at 600% versus pre-pandemic levels. So I think it's very fair to say that insurance today is more important than it's possibly ever been for customers. And then the interesting thing is that during this time, customers turn to their travel providers, to their airlines, to their OTAs, to their hotel companies to provide them with information and assistance in the case where they were looking to travel or they had travel plans already purchased. They didn't turn to their insurers. They went to the people that they trust the most, which is you guys. For example, if you're an airline, they're trusting you with their life to fly them at 40,000 feet to their destination. So you're the guys they want to come to when they're seeking assistance and information. So that was a really interesting thing. And Phil and I were chatting just prior to this. We might cover it off a little bit more, Phil. But you know, you had local airlines here like Emirates and Fly Dubai who did an excellent job at very quickly adapting and offering certain COVID protection coverages as part of the ticket price. So customers were encouraged to book as and when borders reopened. But I think the key takeaway from this slide, had the little line popped up, is that insurance today is more important than it's ever been, and I don't believe it's ever going to go back to how it was prior to the pandemic. But interestingly, right in the thick of the pandemic, when customers needed insurers the most, the travel insurance industry went missing, okay? And let me just talk a little bit more about that. So, if I focus in on Spanish travelers, 67% of Spanish travelers that took out protection or insurance specifically to cover them for in the event of a pandemic found that when they came to make a claim, they actually weren't covered for the reasons they'd purchased their protection. So the industry completely let them down, and this theme continued all around the world. So we've shown just a few locations on here. You know, we have Spain, the UK, the US, the EU, and while Spain is significantly higher than everywhere else, the story remains the same. So I think what's really interesting here, oh, by the way, it was 28% if you blend that out on average around the world. 28% of customers weren't protected when they purchased protection specifically for that reason, okay? So what's really important going forward is that we understand customers need to be protected for the right reasons, and we need to ensure they get in adequate coverage. So when you guys are looking to partner with travel insurers of the future, ensure that they're delivering exactly what your customers really need. So what this slide looks at and goes into a bit more detail in is where customers purchased their travel insurance and where they seek to purchase travel insurance in the future. Now, you know, in the past, people have relied on things like the free credit card insurance you get as part of your Amex, or the insurance you get as part of your bank. I mean, as a show of hands, how many around here think they're protected with their bank or their credit card to travel? We've got one, right? But that's probably an indication that you guys know the industry, and you know it probably better than the average punter on the street, because actually, this is where the lowest sort of customer satisfaction lies, with customers that have free protection as part of their credit card. But interestingly, 18% of customers surveyed said that their travel protection previously was from their credit card. Having experienced the pandemic and realized they were not protected the way they thought they were, only 5% of people now say that they will use their credit card coverage in the future. But the really interesting thing for us as a travel industry is that actually 36% of customers had previously taken out cover with their travel provider. And that's looking to rise when they ask where will you purchase it from next time to 45%. In fact, when we surveyed customers, 71% of people that had taken out insurance with their travel provider the first time said they'll do exactly the same the next time. So the satisfaction there is much higher. And the primary driver is convenience. This is why customers are taking out that protection with you, because the travel industry is light years ahead of people like retail, for example, in that we've been selling travel insurance on our websites, in the booking path, for many, many years. It's one of the biggest ancillary drivers for travel companies all around the world. So we understand this better than anybody else. However, customer behavior is changing, right? So whilst we might be embedding insurance already or selling it somewhere on our website, we have to ensure that we're giving customers the right product in the right place at the right time and at the right price. So they're getting the right cover and they're getting value for money. And that's really important. But 49% of respondents said that convenience was their number one driver. I've now just got a couple of slides just to do a bit of a deep dive onto NPS, so post-claims NPS, essentially measuring customer satisfaction once they've submitted and made a claim and gone through that entire claims process. And the results, quite frankly, are quite disturbing. This may or may not be a surprise to some of you. In travel, you know, many of us do pretty good at the whole NPS and customer satisfaction. It's a massive, massive focus for us. The insurance industry doesn't appear to follow suit, as these results would tell us. So globally, the post-claims NPS was -20, measured on a scale of 1 to 10 on an NPS scale, with a turnaround time to submit a claim and get paid out of over 2 weeks. It's actually on average 14 days, but there are some areas like the UK, for example, Europe and the US, where it's, well, I think the UK is 18 days, right, with an even lower NPS of 35. Europe is 19 days with a low NPS of -34. So guys, the industry just isn't doing a good enough job. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why Cover Genius is here, because we addressed this at the very beginning of when we started our business a few years ago. We are a completely customer-centric business, and we really honed in on the pain points of the industry with the idea of delighting customers and giving them a much happier experience, because we know if we do that, customers will come back. Now, actually, we're just B2B, so we don't have a consumer brand, so they're not coming back to us. They're coming back to you guys if you work with us. So really, when you're choosing a travel insurer, what I would say is consider that they should be offering at least the same level of service as you guys do. And then final slide. So we broke it down again further to look at NPS by source of where people purchase their insurance. Free credit card insurance is probably no surprise at -34 NPS. Online insurers at -18. Now, suppliers and agents, i.e. you guys, is still -9, so it's still poor, but it's the best of the bunch, interestingly. And then by submission type, now this is really interesting. So 35% of people are still forced to make a claim over the telephone. 35% of people. So all of these traditional insurers will tell you that they have 1,000 people in a call center, and that's the best thing. But actually, you know, when you're going through an online experience, you're a digital-first customer. You want to be served digitally in a really seamless and slick way. So don't force customers onto the phone, where particularly during a pandemic, they're going to sit on hold for 90 minutes, which personally, a few of my friends have experienced just lately. Claims filed online is, again, the best score. It's -13. It's still dismal, but it's the best score of the bunch. So what you should be considering here when you're working with any insurer is this is what customers want to do. They want to claim online, they want to do it digitally, but it has to be a slick experience, okay? So really think about what are your partners doing to ensure that they're offering customers the very best experience and not waiting for 14 days to pay out a claim, but paying out within 2 or 3 days instantly, because that's a moment where customers need you the most. So I think it's really important just to consider that. That was my last slide before we sit down, but I'd like to firstly thank you for coming in and just listening to this. If there's a takeaway for me, it's all around that customer experience thing. You guys put so much effort into ensuring that your own customer experience is second to none. Don't let yourselves down by working with a third party, not just in insurance, but on any product that doesn't share your customer-centric view. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Peter, thanks very much indeed. And we'll have a question and answer session in a little while. So we want to pick up, I mean, the picture you were painting there regarding the insurance industry was not very good. Some numbers to highlight, for example, 67% of travelers in Spain not covered properly, people on hold for 90 minutes, and 14 days or so to get refunds. So how are you addressing that when you have a relationship with an airline, you're having embedded insurance? What's your criteria?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Thank you, Phil. So that digital claims process has to be second to none. But I think it comes before that. One of the reasons why many claims are denied is because customers don't understand at the very beginning what they're covered for. So I think it starts with being super transparent at the start. So when we're working with a travel provider, for example, the UI and the UX that we put together with that travel partner, let's say an airline or an OTA, is done in such a way that customers can very easily understand what it is they're purchasing. Without having to read pages and pages of T's and C's, they can see exactly what's included. But then when it comes to making a claim, it's digital first. We actually already know who the customer is because we have their information, so we only ask them the questions that we need to know the answers to. So we're not going to ask them to submit a form with 70 questions. They may only fill in 5. We turn that around within about 2 days, and we pay out instantly in 90 currencies. So that our NPS is 65. So it's outstanding. Yeah.
That's very impressive. Right, take a seat for our fireside chat, and we'll call up our guests. Someone you've been working with for the last 12 months or so, almost 1 year, isn't it? So they are, tell us about Omni.
I think I might let Omeo talk about themselves if Sriram would like to join us.
So welcome onto the stage now is Sriram, who flew in yesterday, from Berlin, wasn't it? And you're here for a short trip, aren't you?
Yeah,
first time in Dubai, I believe?
It's my first time here in Dubai, and it's a very short trip.
Okay.
I'm just here for the session,
okay,
but really glad to be here.
Tell us a bit about Omio then.
Omeo is a global multimodal travel platform. So typically travel is very siloed, right? You know, you book your flight on one platform, you do your search on a different one, and trains are completely separate. So we are on a mission to actually change that. So you can compare, book, and basically different modes of travel across the globe on a single press of a button. So that's Omeo Group. So we are in 37 plus countries with 1,000 plus providers, and we're only expanding to more and more countries.
Okay, so your customer base, how would you describe your customers? Tech savvy?
Yeah, very global, tech savvy, probably in between 18 to 35 age group, and looking for very international experiences. So we primarily operate in the European market currently, but we have a lot of non-European clientele who's visiting Europe who would like to use our brand for basically traveling within Europe.
And Peter, what's your relationship? What are you offering Omeo?
Yeah, sure. So we started Chance Omeo a couple of years ago. I think these guys were working with a traditional insurer and had done for many years, and we're looking for a new partner that could, I guess, innovate and be flexible and deliver new products speedily as the demand of customers was changing. And I guess that was the premise for our original discussions with Omeo. And then we went ahead and we delivered essentially a travel insurance, general travel insurance product. Shriram, I don't know if you want to talk maybe just a little bit about the experience of when you implemented that, the type of product, and then how that performed for you early on.
Yeah, sure. So as Pete was mentioning, we used to work with a much more traditional insurance partner, and the reason we wanted to switch is we work with a global clientele who's looking for a very seamless online experience. And so basically we wanted to provide that with a lot of customer-centric UI and UX. And you also wanted to be driven by algorithms, right? For example, you're booking a flight, but you don't have baggage, so I don't really need baggage protection. So I would like that already to be calculated in my insurance and then offered in my UI in a very seamless way. So we were looking for a partner to do that, and I think once we actually started working with Xcover, we actually were able to offer insurance to a vast majority of our customer base in a seamless manner.
Something I've seen cropping up is the phrase mandatory decision. Explain what that is and how it affects passengers.
Sure. So initially when we actually rolled out insurance, it was a component that we started displaying to consumers that why don't you try out insurance in a travel path? And of course it was quite important because as we do a lot of user testing and interviews, safety and flexibility was top of mind for most customers. But we also noticed that a lot of customers do actually miss out on the travel insurance when it's in flight. But we did a very interesting experiment where we actually reminded customers when they did not add insurance to their travel ticket. And just by the pure action of reminding them, asking them to make a conscious choice on insurance, it increased our insurance by 3x, the insurance attach rate. So that was a phenomenal result for us that, you just need to highlight to consumers that insurance exists and we're providing the right option for your travel journey. And that actually increased it by 3x.
I'm wondering how things have changed over the last 2 years in terms of people's perception of travel insurance and what they're actually asking for. So Peter, how have things changed?
Yeah, gosh, well, I think we probably alluded to some of it on the wall there, but I think things have changed just coming back to the slides, customers really want convenience. They want to trust, they don't want to go to insurers to purchase protection. Because actually, historically, if you look at it, customers don't necessarily trust insurers and banks and financial institutions because that's the way we think. But actually, so they're coming to you guys, they're coming to their airline, to their travel provider, and saying, hey, you help me understand how I protect myself in the event of a pandemic. And I can probably give you a good example. So at the very beginning, just prior to COVID hitting, it was sort of late 19, early 2020, we were having conversations with Skyscanner, and we were talking about some relatively generic sort of travel products. And then, of course, and those discussions were going well. We were going to enter into a partnership. But then, of course, COVID hit and really became prevalent in about the March, April of 2020. So things went quiet for a little while. But then what we did in conjunction with Skyscanner is we went out to their huge user base. Now, they have a panel of customers that are happy to get involved in surveys and answer questions. So together with Skyscanner, we went out to those customers and we asked them, what will give you the confidence to book when the markets reopen? And there were 3 key things that came out of it. One was, I want to ensure that my money is protected in the event that I have to cancel because I get sick. The other is, well, we're entering into a pandemic now. We're hearing all sorts of things about companies going bust. What if I've paid for my flight and my airline becomes insolvent? Can I be covered for that? And then the third thing was, what if I get sick? Not only just through a medical emergency, like, I don't know, I have a heart attack when I'm overseas, but what if I just get sick with COVID and I need to be taken care of? What about that? And then the insurance industry at this time didn't offer these products. Even when they said they did, they didn't. We've just evidenced that on the screen. So what we did and what we were able to do because of the flexibility of our platform, we developed very, very quickly a bundled suite of COVID protection products that responded to all those customer demands. So we did airline insolvency, medical and cancellation, but the very key thing being, none of them had exclusions for a pandemic. They legitimately covered you in the event of you catching COVID and needing help. And that we then rolled that out across 50 countries around the world, and the take-up on those products has been phenomenal.
I was going to come on to that and ask you, we were mentioning earlier about regional airlines here, Emirates, Etihad, Fly-Dubai, offering very quickly an embedded insurance regarding COVID. They were doing that free of charge. What was it like in Europe? Were airlines doing something similar?
Yeah, I think Europe are probably a bit slower to catch on to that. And I think if you consider that within Europe, low-cost airlines rule most of the time across Europe, if you consider all the low costs we have over there. So they're not as quick to jump on the bandwagon when it comes to offering things for free to customers. But I think, you know, in general, the whole travel industry caught up, some slower than others, and started to get much more flexible in terms of their policies around cancellations, for example. Because that's what it boiled down to in many cases, was just, will I get my money back if I have to cancel?
Sure.
And yeah, to be honest with you, I think the travel industry has done a pretty damn good job at delivering that.
I'll put a question to the floor, and it's related to the embedded insurance offered by the airlines here. Has anyone had to make a claim, or a customer of yours might have made a claim? I was just wondering what their experience might have been and the time the airlines took to respond and refund on any claims. Anyone with experience of that? Yes, gentleman at the back. So is it a member of staff here? Sorry, behind you, Mr. Microphone. There you go. Tell us your name and what the situation was.
Kyle from RMS Cloud.
RMS behind, yeah?
I wasn't actually COVID related at all. I dislocated my knee and they put it through as COVID and it just went through a lot quicker.
Oh, right, okay. Would you like to say which airline?
Might not.
No, we'd rather not.
But they're here.
They're here, in the UAE.
Yes.
And it went through very quickly.
Super quick.
So you had a COVID knee.
Yes, that's what they
Okay,
put through as.
okay, thanks very much. Okay, any similar stories, guys, on the fireside chat?
Yeah, I have also an experience.
Where are we? Okay, hello. What's your name?
My name is Omar. So I booked a flight to Sydney.
Sydney, Australia, yeah?
Sydney, Australia, from Etihad. And there were some cancellations because of the COVID, and they fully refunded me. And not a single penny was deducted. It was a very smooth process.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard very bad experience with the other airlines. But most of the airlines within UAE, including Emirates and Etihad, they're pretty flexible and they're really, really good.
Good to know.
You know, I think Qantas labeling themselves as a was it Qantas, did you say, that you flew with?
Etihad.
That was Etihad, forgive me, okay. But they all sit within the same sort of pool in that they are more, they might label themselves as premium flag carrier airlines. And actually it was the flag carriers that did a tremendous job at responding to this situation, more so than others, because there's just so much at stake, I guess. And they are known for having a reputation of treating their customers well. But the interesting thing is, when it came to airlines offering protection for their customers, as in cancellation protection, for example, the entire control of that remains within their own ecosystem. So they have the capability to deliver that same excellent level of service because they control that end to end. They're not relying on a third-party insurer, for example. And that's why they've been able to do a splendid job at this, Phil.
Sriram, from your side, any stories, incidents, examples you can allude to in terms of good and also poor customer experience offered by anyone in the travel sector, airlines through to hotels?
Yeah, sure. So like we mentioned, so we were also working with a more traditional insurance partner before we moved on to Xcover. So we actually had a lot of blowback from consumers when we were booking through that partner because the claim settlement process usually took a really long time and it was not digitized. So as a brand, Omio, because we were selling insurance through this partner, so we were facing that blowback. But once we moved on to a much more seamless experience of online digital claims, we can see that reflected in the fact that consumers are really happy right now. And I faced this problem myself when I've traveled and I had to run through different phone calls and then try to get my claim settled. I would rather just do it online, in a very seamless way.
Talking about claim settlement, and Peter, you sort of mentioned phone calls, directing customers to make a call, be on hold for 90 minutes or so. That must be a very intensive, expensive operation compared with doing it digitally, like you've been saying.
Yeah, of course it is. You know, I mentioned there many of the big insurers, you know, they have huge call centres of people sitting there just to answer the
So
telephone.
why are they still going through that traditional way?
I guess because they're decades old, you know, and they have legacy technology, legacy systems, and legacy processes. And what this means is that they know they want to change that. They know that they want to have the best claims experience, and they want to do it digitally, and they want to make it super slick. But actually, the pain that they have to go through to get there and the investment is not easy at all.
Okay.
So the benefit of being a business that's you know, relatively new as an insurtech is that technology underpins everything we do. So at the heart of it, we are a technology business that happens to specialize in insurance. And that means we have huge flexibility in what we build and how we build it. So I think
We're in
that's
the
it.
technology sector here at the Arabian Travel Market. So when it comes to your technology requirements, are they outsourced to a third party?
No, we've built and we do everything in-house at Cover Genius. So we're a full stack, end-to-end platform. We do everything from, we work with a whole panel of underwriters. I think on our platform we have about 35 different underwriters around the world, so we're not bound to one. But then we use those underwriters to underwrite the risk, but then essentially we can build products, and we do continually build products responding to customer needs. We write the policies, distribute them via a single API anywhere in the world, and then we handle claims in-house as well, because we have delegated authority to handle claims ourselves.
So you're handling the claims, not the underwriters.
We handle the claims.
Yeah.
So
So
we
you-
can control
Yeah.
the whole end-to-end
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Sriram, what about your back office technology offerings, solutions to enable you to do what you do?
Yeah. So at Omio, since we also work with a lot of travel partners, so we have huge backend systems that integrate with the booking and the search platforms of various travel providers across Europe. For example, you can take Deutsche Bahn or SNCF, Trenitalia. So we work with the backend systems of all these major train, bus, and airline partners, and to integrate and then surface up these options in a relevant way to consumers.
Okay. We'll open up the floor in a moment, but from each of you, perhaps you could sort of look into the future a bit and see how this customer experience will evolve and what customers will be asking for post-pandemic.
Gosh, that's a tricky question. I think, look, one thing that we already see and we're going to continue to see is that customers, they want things now. They don't want to have to wait for anything. They expect the very highest level of customer service, and anything less than that is a letdown. And they, you know, when they need you most, you have to be there ready to serve them. And I think that goes for not only insurance and not only travel, but for any industry out there today.
Right across, yeah. Sriram, your thoughts?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is that choice is in general great. Like everybody likes choice, but I guess what we're moving towards is curation is better than choice. Like, you know, our customers are expecting like a curated experience where we tell them, for example, not just with insurance, but even with the travel options. This is the best way to get from point A to point B, because we are a brand that you trust, and this is the option that we're suggesting for you. And we're seeing that, you know, that's the way that probably we should be moving forward. Not just increasing choice, but, you know, offering the most quality product.
From a personal point of view, I would not travel without any form of insurance. And I've done a lot of traveling. Fortunately, I've not had to make any claims yet, so touch wood, I won't. But in terms of regions around the world, who are the best? Who's got the highest percentage of travelers who will get insurance, and which are the lowest?
I'd love to have the answer right here now for you on that, Phil.
Okay.
honestly.
I thought you might have it because you've been digging into diving
gosh,
into a lot of data.
we
drilling
will have
down.
the data somewhere, I don't doubt, but
Yeah.
I don't have the answer
You
for
don't know,
that.
okay, I just wondered
Forgive me.
if that was available or not. Okay, well, gentlemen, what would you like to add as sort of concluding statements, notes, thoughts, pieces of data?
Yeah, gosh, I'm not going to add any more data or anything like that. I'm just going to say that it's an absolute delight to be out traveling again. Personally, after 2 years of being locked down, I was in Las Vegas last week. I've come to Dubai, I'm in Singapore next week, and I'm in Portugal after that. And I have to say that it's been easier from a COVID point of view, understanding the requirements and traveling than it was doing 1 week in Greece in the middle of the pandemic. So I think, look, life is on the up. Things are going to get easier. I think one thing I would like to say, and one prediction, Phil, is that everybody said that travel won't return to pre-pandemic levels until 2025. I don't know about you folks in the room, but that's absolute nonsense. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing it today. Travel is going to be back at 2019 levels before we know it. So bravo to that.
Okay, Sriram, some thoughts from you?
Yeah, very similar thoughts. It's really good to be traveling. So when I think first Pete asked me to actually do this, I thought it was an in-person, or I thought it was a Zoom meeting as usual. And only to figure out that I had to fly out to Dubai in short notice. So it's really great to be doing this again, like in-person events. And yeah, travel actually for us, the numbers that we're seeing are really, really encouraging. So we initially was expecting numbers to grow over the next 2 to 3 years. But what we're seeing is our numbers are much above 2019 numbers already. So that's really strong and encouraging news that people are traveling and are actually, they're trying to fill 2 years worth of travel right now in the next couple of months. So it's really
Squeeze it all
encouraging.
in, yeah. Well, this Arabian travel market, I've been here every day filming for Breaking Travel News and other people, and the buzz, the excitement this year has been phenomenal. So busy on the first 3 days. I think people are worn out, having a restful day today. I think they've been sort of fighting through the crowds because it was so busy. Peter, it's your first Arabian travel market. You were here yesterday? What were your
I was
thoughts?
here yesterday, I was here on Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, it is quieter today, but I think the interesting thing for me is a heck of a lot busier than I thought it was going to be, which is just so lovely to see. Yeah, and actually, what an amazing place to hold it. Like, it's my first time in Dubai, so I spent every evening exploring, and it's an incredible place. I'll be back.
And tomorrow you're going to go down to Old Dubai, I believe, down to the creek and explore souks and go on the Abra.
That's
my
absolutely
recommendation.
right before I head off, yeah.
What about you, Sriram?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a little bit of exploring today. I'm flying back to Berlin in the morning, but I intend to do a little bit of exploring too.
Have you had a chance to see much of the Arabian travel market?
Yeah, I did. Really great stalls and really, really impressive. So I was on the airline side, and some of the stalls that they have there are extremely impressive.
And what about countries? Did you have a look at any of the countries? Any regional ones which are impressive? I'm not mentioning any names at the moment, but
Not yet, I think, but I intend to do this after the session is complete.
go to Saudi Arabia and see what they're doing. It's absolutely phenomenal. The Red Sea development, Al Ula. Yeah, check that one out.
For sure.
Right. Anything else you'd like to add? We've got a few minutes left, and we've got an attentive audience, which is great. Quality rather than quantity, you might say.
No, I think I've covered everything off, Phil. Again, thank you for joining us, folks. I know it's been possibly a long week, particularly for those of you that have travelled out here. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of today, and hopefully you can tag on some days if you're not local and make the most of Dubai.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
For